This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Morning Coffee Chat. And I hope you guys are all doing well. I am. And of course, I have just regular coffee with a bit of sugar and cream and one of my favorite mugs here, Twin Suns Squadron mug. And hello, good morning, Stig. How are you doing?
I'm quite happy. Just had breakfast.
Nice.
Just had a racist pun pop into my head, which I'm not going to repeat.
Well, look at you holding back on your puns. What the hell's wrong with you?
I'll type it in the private chat.
All right. He's hesitant on this, you guys, so it must be really good, but very bad at the same time.
Yeah. He just popped in.
Oh, that's what she said.
Yeah, it's racist.
Oh, yeah. I know you. You can do that too at times. And
there you go.
Yeah, it is, but that doesn't.
Yeah, it was just the way you said it. It was just the way you said it.
Yeah.
Anyway, recovering from surgery, doing quite well, and enjoying some soda.
Awesome. That sounds good. And people in the chat, what are you enjoying in your mug or in your cup today? I have Miss Lady Toriel. She's been sitting and waiting. And hi everyone. Hope you're having an amazing day. Yes, it was a good morning so far. And right now I am drinking some very hot Lady Grey tea to warm up. That sounds great.
That sounds really tedious.
You think it's tedious?
Yeah.
And then Max Relax. Hail, first time viewer. Got the recommendation via Culture Casino. Well, thank you so much, Culture Casino. And thank you so much for jumping in. Coffee Chat, we discussed Star Wars. We're going through some comics right now. So sit back and enjoy. Grab something, the nice beverage, and, communicate in the chat with us and have a good time.
Oh, if you got the recommendations from Culture Casino, it's probably a bit of a gamble.
Well, thank you. All right. And then we have Fuck Norris here. Good afternoon. I'm having a Coke. That's what Stig is doing.
I thought it said Futch Norris, but it turns out it's actually Fuck Norris. Yeah. That's what it says. Mm-hmm. Like Chuck Norris, but with fuck.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say that word on YouTube, actually.
Oh, well, I did.
Yeah, shame on you, Laura, for saying that so loud.
I know, I did, but who cares? Okay, so Wise Guy Entertainment, hail panel, and how are you doing? And then Max Relax, hail Stig, OG, and Wise Guys. Yes, thank you guys for coming in. And Jock Nerdy, good morning to you. And let's see who else is jumping in. And it looks like I got a nice little crew going on here in the chat. Thank you guys for jumping in. And Stig, do you have any kind of Star Wars news that you've noticed in the last couple of days that needs to be announced or anything before we move on?
Nope.
Okay.
I haven't been paying attention at all, and I muted Star Wars on Twitter.
Okay.
So I don't have to see all the dumbasses. And it's making me way more happy.
Yeah, there's right now, I don't know why. If someone could tell me, I did not see the source of why they are doing this, but we have people who are anti-EU people bashing the EU right now once again. I even shared a clip of someone saying, "Oh, they're non-canon, so it's illegal to burn the books."
Yeah, some guy wanted people to burn the EU books, and he's and you know the stupid thing about that is that even if he's a Disney shill and likes the Disney stuff, fine. Disney themselves have said if it wasn't for the EU, we wouldn't have Star Wars today because it kept Star Wars alive after the old trilogy and then after the prequel trilogy too.
Correct.
So there would be no Star Wars without the EU. Right. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you kind of have to respect that aspect of it at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right? And
you don't have to like the EU.
No, you don't.
You still have to kind of respect that you wouldn't have the stuff you like today if the EU had never happened.
you wouldn't have the prequel trilogy the way it is now without the EU.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have the sequel trilogy for the Reylos if it wasn't for the EU, because Star Wars would have been dead.
Right. And that's the thing. And so, and before I move on, I'll just point this out. Stig and I were talking about this, and some of these people who are like bashing it, they're like, I've read the EU, or I like the EU, but.
Yeah. You want to hear something fun? A lot of them brag about having read all of the EU, right? Yeah. I haven't read all the EU. I don't think you have either.
No, because I'm going through the comics because of that. I didn't pick
I haven't read all the novels, you know. There's actually 99% or more.
Yeah.
99.9% of every Star Wars fan out there has not read everything. You know? So when someone just goes, yeah, I've read absolutely everything, and then you can see their age on their Twitter profile, and it says 18, because I actually looked at one. So an 18-year-old has read over 150 novels and over 1,000 comics while still having been in school.
Right.
And probably done all kinds of other things like watching TV, play sports, hang out with friends. You wouldn't have the time. There's not enough hours, because 150 novels at 350 pages on average. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. It doesn't add up one bit.
Well, this person probably doesn't know how to add either, so.
No. Probably because she was reading EU instead of doing her math lessons.
Maybe, who knows? You know.
Yeah.
Max Relax says, "Man, those old EU books have some excellent stories in them. Of course, Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy foremost." Yeah. There are some great stories out there. And even if the storyline isn't really good, there are some great stories in some of those books, or moments in some of those books. But there's wonderful continuity tie-ins. You just have to read them. If you like continuity and you like those tie-ins, and you like to say, oh, okay, this, they like all draw all these strings to the story and where they link off to next and stuff like that, then it's worth reading. It's worth reading.
Yeah.
And then Jock Nerdy says, I had fun with the Reylos Monday night. Wow.
I saw that. They were not happy with him. He didn't say anything wrong. That's the thing. He was actually just asking questions and going, hey, what about this then?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And they were losing their shit and blocking him too. He was being blocked for nothing.
He was just asking questions, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Talk about not be able to stand your ground and stuff like that. Wow, we are dealing with some immature people. And that's what I got to say. These people right here that are, I love the EU, but it's not canon, or blah, 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 or whatever their story is. It's all mystery. They don't do their research.
I had a couple of people last week, early this week, start commenting on something that I'd retweeted because I'd called what a dumbass argument or something. Yeah. And they were like, that's so insulting, and how could you call someone a dumbass, and and use it in a derogatory term? And I'm like, I wasn't insulting, I was describing. Yeah. But yeah, it was weird. I mean, people like genuinely offended because you said something was, or some writer or whatever it was a dumbass. I mean, dumbass is pretty much, as far as insults go, it's like bottom tier. It's very, you even mostly use it in a friendly manner, right?
Right. Yeah. These people are crazy. All right, so let me get into some of my channel announcements here. Then we'll move on to the comics here. So basically, let me get this chat right here. Also the world building, such as Corellian system being artificial with center point station between Talus and Talus and Trellis. People added great stuff to the Star Wars verse. Yes, they did, and it was all approved and sanctioned or whatever, or even helped with by George. And that's the thing. I don't think people realize that these ones that say that they are EU fans, they don't do their history. They don't do their research to find out how the EU evolved and who was involved in it and how George was involved in it.
If you think about it, Corellia is EU because it was never mentioned in the George Lucas movies.
Mm-hmm.
They never mentioned Corellia. That's from the EU.
Yeah, that is from. There's a lot of elements in the EU that even George added and stuff too. Yeah. So
and then they're like, in the Solo movie, oh, we're finally going to get to see Corellia. I'm like, well, Disney has actually decanonized it.
Yeah.
With the EU, so you're cheering for the EU to be shown in the Disney canon while you're bashing the EU.
Yeah.
I mean, even Kessel. No, Kessel's not. No, that was mentioned in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, we finally get to see that, and I'm like, yeah, that's from the EU.
Right.
Right. You want to see the EU on the screen, but you're bashing it too. So you need to pick a stance.
Right.
If it's shit, if someone thinks it's shit, fine. And it's even the EU is optional. You don't have to read the EU to enjoy the movies.
Mm-mm. You do not. You don't have to read it to make sense of it. And I'm just going to go there right now. Yeah. But with the sequel trilogy, you do.
Oh yeah, with the sequel trilogy, in order for that to, well, technically, in order for that to make even less sense, you have to read novels and comics.
I like how you said that. You kind of like regressed it, but that's what they do, is they regress things other than progress things. So who knows?
Yeah. So, who knows? So if you hate the EU, fine, but in the next sentence, don't cheer for EU stuff being put into the movies then.
Right. All right. So I'm going to go to my announcements now. So beginning from November to January, if you as a channel member or you become a member and attend the live streams between that time, then you will be entered to win a copy of this painting right here. This is Sun and Kifu, so it's going with the series I'm making right now. The last one was The Mistress of Rat Attack. And so Miss Martin Hughes is the one that won that painting. And so once she picks up her print, I'm so excited for her to open up the package and share it.
When she won the painting, would you say she had a stroke of good luck?
She did. She sure did.
It's like a brush of fate.
Yeah, it's a brush of fate right there. Yes. So I'm excited. So this one is the next one in line. In fact, I have it behind me. You could see it in from behind right here. And so I'm pretty excited about this. It's not completed yet. I paint in stages. I use oil paints. And then the final, before I feel like I'm done with it, because as a painter, you're never done. You're never satisfied, right? But you have to decide, okay, do I now just stop because I feel it's finished, even though maybe I could do a little bit more? It's a tough decision here. So this is getting finished up here. I have a few things to finish on there. Then I'll go and take it to get digitally scanned and printed. And I print them on a paper that is acid free, so it will preserve.
Yeah, you'll not have any hallucinations from that painting.
Yeah, and then right now for literature review, we are reading to review Old Republic Deceived. So you still have time. The Audible is unabridged. So if you are busy and really can't sit down and read, or if you like to follow along with both the Audible and the book, then I recommend both of them. Some novels that we do, I don't recommend Audible because it's abridged, which means that there's a lot of like little nuances that are key to the plot that are left out. So you have your choice of picking up the book or doing the Audible and following along. And I do have a set date. I just don't have it in front of me. And Stig is not going to be joining us for that one. But we will have I will have a panel and we'll review it. So if Old Republic is your favorite, I recommend you join us.
You know what? One little complaint I always had with the EU was that way too many of the Sith Lords were wearing masks of sorts because of facial damage.
Yeah.
It actually became a thing. I mean, even Darth Malak, right?
Yeah.
It got overused. I mean, Give me a Sith Lord with one arm instead. Not everyone has to have been hit in the face.
Right. Right. And then there's some incidences where someone's not going to want to get an artificial, extension for their arm and stuff like that, right? And
you know what? In KOTOR,
yes.
Darth Vader is missing his lower jaw.
That's right.
And you get to see him without the mask.
Yeah.
Not nice.
Yeah. I mean, make them look scary, instead of the mask and stuff. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree on that. I sure do.
Oh, this is how you can get the people that are being angry with people not wearing masks because of COVID. You can just go, only Sith Lords wear masks.
They try to use that kind of analogy, but the one where Luke is taken off the mask, and then he's like, Anakin goes, "If you take it off, I will die," kind of deal. They try to use that against people who don't want to wear masks. I'm like, You don't even get the story. That's not what that's about. Yeah. So, all right. Anyways, let's get on to here. So we're coming into the next series, which is the Star Wars Empire number 36 and the Rebellion volume we're on number 3, right? Or number 2? I forget.
This is volume 3.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't too sure. It's like I lost track. I only know we're reading through them now. I just forgot which one we're on. Yeah. So, and this is the aftermath of the shadows of their fathers. And so now we're seeing what they're doing with the mass slaves that they took from Jabiim and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Also, this is from the Empire comics, not the Rebellion ones, but they're still in the Rebellion omnibus.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Because of the timeline.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And so it's Empire.
Also, speaking of people who should wear masks, Matt Wilkins is in the chat.
Hello, Matt Wilkins. How are you doing? He says, "I've come to challenge Stig for his seat at Laura's side." Look at that.
Oh, you can sit next to her. She can sit on my lap.
Oh, no, you guys are not going to pawn me around like that.
Okay. Well, then I will sit in Wilkins' lap.
Okay, that's better.
Anyway,
that went sideways. Well, at least I hope it doesn't after you sit in his lap. Sorry about that. All right, so this is The Wrong Side of the War, Part 1, and it's a 5-part series. So this right here, and I didn't check to see when it was published, so how old it is. Do you remember, Stig?
Nope.
Okay, because
it's probably between 2008 2009 maybe.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That's just a guess, though.
Yeah, because to me, the art a little bit feels a little bit cross between modern comic and maybe this is what the artist was getting at, modern comic art and past. It has that feel between the two, like if they were trying to still keep the nostalgia of like the classical, paper comic type of feel. So we'll go through that. We'll discuss. If you haven't been on the channel with us reviewing and reading the comics and stuff, we discuss the art as well and the color, all of that, the contrast, all of that. So this is so the planet Jabiim, 2 weeks after the arrival of Darth Vader and the beginning of orbital bombardment. So that's where we left off. They started bombardment on Jabiim, and so this is like the couple weeks after.
You know what though? In The Last Jedi,
yeah.
If Disney hadn't forgotten about the TIE bombers, they could have used TIE bombers to just destroy all the rebellions while they were in that mountain base. That's it. It would have been over very fast.
Yeah, I agree. That and the bombardment. So the ships, having the ships doing bombardment from orbit.
Yeah. They can easily bomb a mountain to bits.
Right.
It wasn't even that high of a mountain. It's more like a cliff.
They could have sealed them in and then their fate is sealed right there. So they weren't thinking, or maybe because they didn't plan the story out.
Oh, they didn't plan one bit.
No, and that they didn't have source material.
No, they used Dave Filoni as source material. Look what happened.
He is not an EU expert whatsoever, and that's been proven time and time again by fans and stuff as well. Oh, goodness. All right, so blue 3, approach vector lock-in. So here we go. And then so the little yellow boxes are like the incident, just a description of what's going on. Any academy plebe could see, and this is someone's thoughts right here, and we'll get to who it is here pretty soon. After the Star Destroyer, go ahead.
The pilot is wearing his suit even when he's in the atmosphere of a planet. This is because there's no life support in TIE fighters at all, and it's airtight.
Yeah.
Right. So he's basically sitting in a box that has no air in it, and that's why they have that that little box on their chest.
Yeah.
And you see the pilots carrying around a box that's hooked up to their suit as well in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Because they're basically having portable life support with them.
Yeah.
Which means when you see on Rebels and even in The Force Awakens, when they're flying around in TIE fighters without a flight suit, and stuff like that, they should have been dead because they're basically just in a little box with no air in it. So Finn and Poe should have been dead.
Yeah,
and all the characters in Rebels too.
Very, very true with that. Very true. Matt Wilkins says he's not Santa. And then Teresa is here. Hello. There we go. And Snell.
Do you know why Wilkins is not Santa?
Why is that?
Because Santa fills his sack while Wilkins empties sacks.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, carrying on.
Yes, let's carry on. So we see them destroying the mountain. You can see like little figures down here, and it's the them in their strong point holding steadfast against the Empire. So you could see a lot of action going on here. What's going on? You could see that they're everything's being destroyed, and so basically the only way this last rebel stronghold would be taken was from the ground. So they're realizing the bombardment, was it's successful in a way, but they still need the resources and the people from the ground. So that's why they brought in, their TIE fighters. And so, of course, the infantry was ordered to stand by while good machines and good pilots were wasted another futile attempt from above. Yeah. So there we go. And then so now they're on ground here and they're looking at their stronghold of the rebels here. You could see a little cave up there and everything. And give the world. Go ahead.
Side note: by rebels, they mean the Jabiim rebels, not the Rebel Alliance.
Correct. Yes. And give the word. And so he's looking through his binocs there, and he could see everybody up there, and they're posted up and stuff. And basically what they do is that they take charge and take prisoners. They take them as slaves, and that's what's going on here.
Yeah, and nice continuity with the view of the binoculars, because that's very similar to the view of Luke's binoculars in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Which was a year and a half ago in the timeline, I think, or a year ago.
Yeah, because it's like 8. I think it said it's 8 months out or so.
Yeah, something like yeah.
Yeah. And then so we go on here. The delay will, of course, result in more lives lost. So he's making assessments here. I didn't write his name down. We were talking about him last night. I just forgot his name.
I think it was Janek, was it?
Janek or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And he's an important character, right, Steve? We'll find out.
If I remember correctly, yes, in the comics.
Yeah, in the comics, that's what I meant. So in this right here, but they are just infantry lives. That's tough. We have lost lives, but they're infantry, so they know what they're getting into, so it's okay. And but I guess that's the reality of war, right? Because when people enlist to serve, no matter what side it is, you're also saying, I will give my life if needed. so that's tough. And the capital spent by commanders on every battlefield across the galaxy. That's what he's talking about, is like that's what happens. That's they do lose lives, and that's what's expected. But a resource valued more highly by some than others. So, of course, like I said, he is assessing things. So let's move on. What do you think about this art so far, Stig, since we do talk about the art and all that?
It's okay, but it also looks low budget.
Yeah.
Compared to the, if you compare it to the Clone Wars comics.
Yeah, the Republic in that?
Yeah, that was, and even if you compare it to the, the Legacy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Comic, it's on a different level, but it's not bad. It's just, it's not like, wow, either.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, is like this is a cross between the classic comics from like the 80s and the ones now, like, from Legacy and stuff. You could see that, it's not bad, but it's not good. It's passable, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's good enough,
Yeah. Yeah. Because you get the point across here, like Red, they're in danger here, and then they're shooting down, like the Jabiim rebels are shooting down at them. So, lives are being risked and stuff like that, and all that. And you could see, so it gets the message across very well.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. And then he says, Lieutenant Janek Sunber, so that's his name, Sunber. So Janek, you're right, has arrived at his destination with fewer than half the men with which he started. The necessities of success dictates that will have to be enough. And so it goes on, the artillery support, if it arrives at all, can do little more than provide a temporary distraction for their enemies. And so you could see the ATs here, the walkers here. Classic battle, that's what we have here. Just a classic battle. The Jabiim rebels holding, their last stronghold. Go ahead.
Look at the one on the right, though. I mean, what the hell is that one aiming at?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably a woman driver. Anyway.
Oh, you just had to say that, didn't you? You just can't go one day without that. One coffee chat. All right. Set those chargers. We don't have much time. So, they're getting ready to destroy the Jabiim rebels. So
have you noticed in comics and stuff like that, whenever someone is to set some kind of charges, they almost never have a lot of time for some reason. Yeah. I'm like, hand me the charges. I bet we're not gonna have much time.
Right.
But
they're trying to set. I know they're trying to set the mood like it's dire, right? But I mean,
yeah, I know, but it's a thing in not just in Star Wars and all kinds of stuff. If someone's setting the charges, it means they don't have a lot of time.
Right.
It's almost like a trope, isn't it?
Yeah, you have a point there. Let's see here. And I'm going to go ahead and come back to the chats real quick. The story isn't too long whatsoever, but we're just reviewing one today since it's a 5-part series. So Holocron Library Fox, I thought I remember Fordhand saying the word Corellian somewhere. It seems to be losing my Star Wars. He did, he used Corellian as, naming when he was talking about his ship.
Yeah, but in nowhere in the movies do we know it's a planet.
Yeah, and he got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a Corellian ship, if you don't know anything, right, outside of what's said in the movies, a Corellian ship could be made by a factory named Corellia. We don't know.
Yeah,
but the
exactly.
fact, the planet itself didn't show up until the EU.
Yeah. And then Vertical Horizon says, I've always wanted those binoculars. Aren't they cool? It's like when you see them and stuff, and we see all this fun stuff in Star Wars and other, sci-fi or fantasy stuff. Like, it's like you could just imagine, like, that would be cool to have something like that. It's called escapism. You want to be involved in that world.
Yeah, and something George Lucas did well, I thought, maybe especially in the OT,
Mhm.
he made all the tools and ships and all that. They all looked used. They
Mhm.
weren't shiny and brand new like you see in other
Mhm.
sci-fi movies from the time.
Yeah.
It was like gritty and oily and dirty. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
even some of the droids had bumps in them.
Yes. Yes. And even the PT was a little bit more shinier, I guess you can say, but they were still, you could tell that that world was lived in.
Yeah.
That was more of a sophisticated time, I guess you can say, before the Empire, right? Just like, Obi-Wan says.
Yeah, well, the basically the civilized countries, sorry, the planets
Mhm.
like Naboo and Coruscant, they
Yeah.
looked all shiny and clean. But as soon as you got to Tatooine,
Right.
the style was back to the OT because everything looked used and dirty and worn, and
Yes. And
you
that's
know,
amazing. That's amazing right there. It's attention to detail.
yeah, it's part of the world building, and George stuck with that in the
Mhm.
PT.
Right. Oh, it gives me chills just talking about just little nuances like that. It's so much fun. All
Yeah.
right, so let's move on here. So, of course, we said, we're seeing the battle going on here, and all this, and so we'll continue. I'll continue reading the little thought box, I guess you could say. The first time Sunber saw action, the Imperial position was reversed. Then it was his own small company defending against a larger attracting or attacking force. I should grab my glasses. And then it was his own traps and defense that reduced the attackers numbers. So you see a lot of chaos going on here, and rightfully so. And do you have anything you want to say about the scenes going on here, Steve?
No, it's perfectly fine. Looks like a proper skirmish. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. And then now it's an imperial flesh and blood that is being hurled against a defender's bulwarks. So what we're seeing, and we're getting again what is going on after Luke and them visited Jabiim, and then Vader started bombardment on the planet. So this is the aftermath and stuff like that, and they are taking prisoners and stuff. So we're just getting the history of the lieutenant here that's leading his people right now. That's
Yeah,
what's going on. So
and always good to see some stories from the Imperial
right,
point of view as well.
right, right, and that's what I think that's what the Clone Wars was supposed to be, like the Filoni one, before it went all the way of Ahsoka being the star of the show. It was supposed to be the initial plan was it supposed to be the opinion and the viewpoint of the clones, right? And
Yeah,
of what's going on, and that kind of went sideways. So
yeah, it went sideways after season 3,
yeah.
when George Lucas left
Mm-hmm.
to make what's it called, Black Tails.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even said this in an interview. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. After season 3, he was not involved at all, except
Yeah.
for checking in on them once per week. That's all he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he
And
wasn't heavily involved with anything
mhm.
after season 3. He wasn't heavily involved with anything before season 3 either, but he was more involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said this time and time again. He was busy, with his family for the most
Mm-hmm.
part.
Yeah, exactly. And that's even goes with like the novels and stuff, because even the people who were writing the novels at the time said that, like, and the company even said George was slowly stepping away.
Yeah, and he said he would do the same thing with the Star Wars Underworld show, which
Mhm.
sadly got canceled. But
Yeah.
he said he would be doing the same thing with that show as he was doing with the Clone Wars. He would produce it, set it
Hmm.
up, and then take the back seat.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the thing. And that's why and so we'll just get a little bit into this and we'll move on. That's why he said that he wanted to retire, right? He wanted to spend time with his family, and he knew that if he didn't retire fully and have someone take over the company and stuff, and still kept it within his own premise, his own under his belt, I guess you can say, then he wouldn't be committed to retirement for his family.
Exactly.
And that's why he sold.
Yeah, and he had Leland Shee and Sura Stoney pretty much being in charge of the EU and the continuity and all that. Which is why Sura Stoney, on George's behalf, said that the EU is canon unless it's marked with the what was it, the Infinities logo. That was the official statement from Lucasfilm. It's canon and unless it has the Infinities logo.
And George, as a creator, he can retcon it, or he can decide not to use it. He can decide to say it's not canon. However, he's never said that the EU was not canon.
No, because he never used the word canon to begin with.
Right.
So you won't find him saying something's not canon, and you won't find him saying something is canon. He hired people to deal with that, and then he used their guidebooks when he made the prequel trilogy. You can see that because he has them next to him.
Right.
He has the reader. Yeah, he has the reader's companion next to him when he's working on Revenge of the Sith, I believe.
Yeah, I'll find those images again or whatever. So we have Eric Ted Wood fractured my butthole. Okay, and I think, what is this monetary one here? I think is it euro? I don't remember.
What?
The monetary sign here for the money
pounds.
Sign. Okay, pounds. There you go. I always get that confused. So sorry.
No, wait a minute. Yeah. It's I'm on painkillers. My last painkillers.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Please let me know. I'm still getting familiar with, euro. I was right. Thank you. So thank you. And he has the mischievous devil sticker on there. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Every single little bit that you guys do to support the channel helps me get the comics that I don't have. Because like I said, that I wasn't a big comic reader growing up, but now I am totally into it, as you guys can see. And so thank you, euro. I was right. So thank you guys so much for contributing to the channel. And then it also helps me get paint supplies so that I can, get some wonderful paintings done. And those who decide to become members will have a chance to win a copy of a painting. And then channel members get 10% off copies of my paints as well. Or not paints, but paintings. So thank you guys so very much. I appreciate your support so much. You guys are just unbelievably remarkable. All right, so we'll go on here. So like I said, it's just given us a down opinion from, this lieutenant, I guess. I believe he's a lieutenant, and his commands on Jabiim, and his viewpoint and all that stuff. So we're learning a lot here. And excuse me. And he and his troops have their orders, and they must carry them out or die trying. The reality of a leader and their forces. Now, I think I love this right here. Even though this, is not as, awesome as, like Republic or Legacies, you could still see the colors in here. You get the picture, you get the part where, you have the heated part of the glow of the bomb and everything. You can see the bodies, very impactful, literally. All right. So here we go. And so they do, you could see all the scraps from, the base and stuff and the facility and everything like that. You could see the wreckage of the war, the wreckage from the bombardment and the bombing and all that. All right. And so they make their way through inside, and it's throw down your weapons. And then we get back to the Lothal thingy. It isn't long before all opposition is subdued. Then comes the part of every operation for which Sunber still has no stomach. Then Sunber goes on to say, form two lines, children and the elderly in one, everyone else in the other. So now they're bringing in, and you can see, like Nolan and them, you could see everybody down here, and the stormtroopers that are, getting them to file in, I guess you can say. And then he's like, no, not my son, so they're separating the families, and that's tough. That's tough. That's war, right? There's no mercy for anybody, really. And then someone says, Lieutenant Sunber, and he goes, yes, sir. And then he says, take the prisoners to the landing zone. So now they're going to load them up. Into the freight here. And then what is happening to the Jabiim, Sunber tells himself, is their own doing. So we're getting the opinion here. So here you guys go. So we're getting the imperial opinion here. This is the price they pay for choosing to fight on the wrong side of the war. So there you go. And so there we go. But his own rationalizations strike him as hollow. So we kind of get how he feels, but then what he feels and what he thinks right there. The rewards of doing one's duty, Sunber is discovering, are sometimes cold comforts when exchanged for that part of a man which must be sacrificed in the pursuit of that duty. That's a lot. That's deep right there. So what do you think about that, Steve, when you first read that?
I don't remember what I thought about it when I first read it.
Okay, well, what do you think about it
now? Well, it's it shows that the Imperials are people.
Right?
They're doing their duty. They're following orders, and like we've seen many times, if you don't follow the orders, you'll get killed. That's a common thread in the Empire. If, Vader demonstrates it. Screw up, you're dead.
Yeah. And so here we go. So hyperspace one day later. Time aboard the huge Imperial transport grinds to a crawl. Too much time to think. Oh, mind you, they spend time going through hyperspace.
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. You spend time and it feels like a crawl.
Yeah. Filoni didn't know that, though. He didn't watch the movies.
Yeah, he didn't watch the movies or even pay attention to the EU. Neither did anybody who produces Star Wars.
He was actually supposed to pay attention to the EU when he made the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars was EU, and at the beginning of it, it did follow the EU, because you had the characters from Republic Commando.
Yeah,
the game they showed up in the Clone Wars for a cameo. You had all kinds of other EU people. I mean, he even had episodes centered on EU characters.
Yeah.
But then after George went and did Red Tails, it kind of it got derailed quite a bit, and that's when the continuity issues started happening. At first with the EU, and then continuity issues with the movies after that. So it's kind of like a spiral, isn't it?
Yeah, you can almost say like this is an S canon type of storyline.
Yeah, if you watch the Clone Wars as its own thing, then it's perfectly fine. But you need to treat it as its own little. I would almost say like a what if story, to be honest. But yeah, as a standalone thing, loosely connected to the movies, and I say very loosely, then it's okay,
Yeah, and enjoy it. I mean, I will admit there's like some episodes I did like. There were some good episodes in there, but overall, I don't give the whole series, the whole TV show, cartoon show, or whatever you want to call it, a good rating. I don't.
It kind of turned into Ahsoka, Kenobi, or Anakin wins every battle.
Yeah, even though they're not supposed to, because we see a lot in the Republic and in the novels and stuff about, especially Jabiim. We're talking about Jabiim. So Jabiim in the past, when Anakin was involved, that was their worst loss ever during the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and what it also does is it nullifies the threat of the villains, because in the Clone Wars, and even on Rebels, for the most part, the villains never win.
Right.
The heroes always win. So I'm like, if it's that easy to beat them all the time, then
Mm-hmm.
it's no wonder the Empire lost. It makes it like not a big deal
Mm-hmm.
because they just kept losing and losing and losing. Even Thrawn in Rebels, he is literally Gargamel because he captures the Smurfs, which is the rebels,
Mm-hmm.
and then they escape through some very, very obvious means that he
Yeah.
overlooked time and
Mm-hmm.
time again, and then he's upset.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, they added the stuff with him being like very much into art, studying art and all that, which is from the EU. You know,
Yeah.
that's what he did in the EU.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine if it's on if he's into art on Rebels, but not in the EU.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. So let's get back to this fun stuff here. So yeah, so they're going through hyperspace, right? They're getting to their destination, and we have again, contemplation, I guess you can say, with Sunber and stuff. And so we're getting the story. Mind you, this is an introduction for the series. So this is what we're getting. We're getting an introduction with these characters and what's going on. Excuse me. So we'll be leaving hyperspace shortly. Get your gear together and be ready to move to new quarters. Excuse me, on Kalist 4. So that they're going to Kalist right here. And I did share a picture of Kalist Base versus the Edu base on Rogue One. They look very similar. They look very, very similar. And when we get to that base, I'll show you guys what it looks like. Oh my God, my voice. Okay. All right. So I have water and coffee here. So let's see if I can manage. All right. So not for the first time, Sunber envies his men, his clones. Ooh, for none of the real human soldiers under his command made it off Jabiim. Wow. Okay, Stig. So tell me what you think about that, because we did know that they still used clones in a sense for their armies.
Yeah. They used the leftover clones basically, but they stopped producing them because they were expensive. So they gradually went over to using regular recruits, which is
Right.
you see that in when George did the special editions,
Yeah.
and he had Tamura Morrison voice Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
So George stuck to the EU and had him not voice the stormtroopers because they were regular recruits according to the
Right.
EU, right?
Yeah.
So he stuck to that as well.
Yeah, so we're seeing, the last wave being used of the last wave of the clones right here. So what's remaining from them, I guess you can say. And clones are not troubled by regret or what might have been. So look at this. They don't have chips. They were programmed to, serve and not ask questions and not be affected by what's going on.
Yeah. The Revenge of the Sith novel was big time overseen by George, as was the Attack of the Clones one and the one for the Phantom Menace. George helped with that. He was constantly advising the writers, and you can see a lot of that in Terry Brooks's. It's a book called "Sometimes the Magic Works," where he talks about his writing career, and there's an entire chapter dedicated to the work he did with the Phantom Menace novelization. So, in the Revenge of the Sith novel, there's no chip whatsoever. There was never any chip.
Yeah.
So that's just I don't know why Filoni decided to do that, but it does not fit with the prequels because when you see the Order 66 scene, right? You see the Commander Cody gets the hollow message saying execute
Mhm.
order 66, and he said it will be done, my lord, or whatever. And then he walks over to another clone trooper and gives the order to fire. Now the other clone trooper hadn't gotten order 66
Mhm.
because it was delivered by a holocron. It wasn't transmitted to their helmets or anything.
Yeah.
So only the commanders knew about that order being kicked into place,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you see it all the time. It's well, some of them get the message in their helmets, but that's from commanders who have already gotten the hollow message,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know. But
Mhm.
yeah, there was never any chip. You see it clear as day. They're
Right.
following orders, which is what Jango Fett alludes to it in Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
because he is telling Obi-Wan, they'll get the job done,
Right.
which is foreshadowing.
Mhm.
You
Correct.
know, they're
Yeah,
gonna
there's a
kill
lot of
you.
that.
Yeah, they're gonna
There's a
kill you.
lot of Yeah, there's a lot of like foreshadowing that we growing up with like the OT and the PT and stuff like that, seeing, and now it feels like the newer generations oversee the foreshadowing and has to have everything handed to them in the explanation,
Yeah,
or it didn't
and that's not just a problem with Disney, Star Wars, or anything like
happen. Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's all over in all kinds of pop culture. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago or 15 years ago, if you played a video game,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you got a manual, or at the very least, like a little piece of paper that said what each button does. If you played Grand Theft Auto, walk up to a car and you press A on the Xbox controller or something to enter the car. Now, if you play video games, as soon as you get near,
Mm-hmm.
the door of a car or something, it shows the button you're supposed to press on the controller. So you're constantly being spoon fed what to do,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying today's games are bad or anything like that. Some of them are fantastic, but it's still there, that constant thing of uh, there's a lot of simplifications, right? Because
Yeah.
if you play an or if you played an RPG back in the day, the games didn't have an in-game journal, so you had to
Mhm.
like make notes on a piece of paper and actually pay attention to what was
Yeah.
said in dialogues.
Mhm.
Now you can actually skip through the dialogue, just press random things and it'll show up in the quest journal, and you'll also get a marker on the map, so you have to go there, talk to this person. You can just click through anything, and then you'll get a new marker, and then yeah, inside that cave, that's where you have to go. So you can just rush in and kill stuff and then pick it up and go deliver it, and you don't have to pay attention to what's being said at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just simplified, and that's it's in video games. It's in movies. I saw
Mhm.
someone having filmed
Mhm.
a test audience for a horror movie.
Okay.
So they had like 50 people sitting there, um, teenagers and early 20-year-olds, and they were watching a horror movie. And when stuff wasn't, you know, happening, when it wasn't anything, jump scares or something spooky happened, or if it wasn't any, funny comments, they
Mhm.
weren't paying attention to the movie. They were looking at their phone,
Yeah.
and you could see the,
That's bad.
yeah. So it's the instant gratification generation, right?
Yeah.
So if you watch like some Marvel movies, some of the
Mhm.
later ones, they're filled with one-liners
Mhm.
and little jokes, and they kind of have to do it to keep the audience's attention. So that's the result of it. Because if you watch the Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
it's a standard movie,
Right. It
about
is.
Iron Man, and it's considered to be very good too. But if you watch the later Avengers movies, it's filled from start to finish with little jabs like that to make the audience not lose their attention.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You just hit the nail on the head with that. So, yeah. All right. So let's move on with this comic here, the scenes here. So, they're preparing for, they're landing, coming out of hyperspace and getting at the base there. So we learn that, basically clones are much more superior than, regular human trained soldiers, I guess you can say, because of how their genetic makeup is, right? They were bred and genetically made to be super soldiers, right? So
Yeah.
And so let's go on here. They are bred purely for duty, pliable, patient, and tough. Though Sunber has heard that during the Clone Wars, they were even tougher. There you go. Just what we're talking about. So,
yeah, they're basically conditioned to follow orders at any cost.
Yeah, and no mention of Chip here either. All right, so attention all personnel. So they're getting that, that standard message from, from the ship here. Stand by to exit hyperspace. So now they're exiting. But the prisoners taken on Jabiim are beyond envy. What drove them, Sunbear wonders, to attempt to stand against the Empire? What could compel so many to choose a course that would lead them to an almost certain death or to their certain fate? So there we go. He's wondering, he has this, and to him, they're doing okay. They're doing, what is right. And that the Empire, is good, because, he is part of the Empire. Just like, any side that you back, you feel like you feel that it's right, I guess you can say, so. And it's always good to get an opinion from, that from a, opposing factor. Okay, stay going.
Yeah, and some of the officers even joined the Empire because, in general, they wanted war to end. Right?
Yep.
And they believed it could be done, I guess, peacefully by just showing off the force they had, right?
Right.
Don't resist. It's not going to end well, stuff like that. But then it went sour when their commanders just went, just bomb the planet, right? But in the EU though, there's a lot of Imperial officers, and all of them have, well, some of them have very different reasons for why they joined the Empire. So, I think there was one who had his wife and I think his kid had been blown up by rebel saboteurs. They were basically collateral damage.
Yeah.
So he joined the Empire because of that.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough, right? It's a crazy war is crazy. Yeah. And then it goes on. Stranger still are the motives of their other prisoner. And then here we go. So we're getting to who got captured. The rebel spy, Jorn Sol. Rumor has it that Sol has attracted the attention of Lord Vader himself. And so if you guys have been following since the Shadows of Their Fathers, you know who this is. Because of his knowledge of the location of the rebel fleet. And then it says, what kind of life must the young man have had? What could have led him to cast his fate with that of the hopeless rebel alliance? But Sunber realizes that his own decisions had led him to situations which he could not have anticipated. So much of a man's life is determined by choices that seem of little importance at the time they are made. And then so he says, maybe it's the same for him. And then so the commander or whoever this is, and I didn't get the name. What's that, Lieutenant? My men are ready for landing, sir. So I guess he spoke a thought out loud right there. That's what I'm guessing. So yeah, so there's Soul. He's the one that was captured and got interrogated by Vader, or was supposed to be, and so he is still prisoner because he is a very high status type prisoner because of his standing with the rebels, and he came with them. So if you guys don't remember, and then so they get a hit. They're like, what's going on here? And he's like, we've hit something here. And so we see it right here. They come out of hyperspace and boom, they hit this TIE fighter right here.
Yeah, 1 in a million.
Mm-hmm. 1 in a million shot right there, you guys. 1 in a million. There you go.
Yeah.
And then here we go. So we've come out of hyperspace in the middle of a war zone. So there we go. So we see the TIE fighter. We see the X-Wing right there. The TIE fighter, basically they came on top of the TIE fighter right there. And rebel fighters are after that tanker. So they're now assessing the situation here. And you see them in the background. You see the tanker there, all of that. So they are, they are getting heat from the Red Squadron, I guess you can say. So this is Imperial tanker Nuna's twin calling Kalist Base. We are under attack by rebel fighters. Nuna twins, maintain your current heading. Dorkai, I guess that squadron is coming to your aid. So there we go. So now we're going to get some action here.
Max Relax in the chat says it's a hold-up maneuver.
It's a hold-up maneuver?
Yeah, just hyperspacing a Star Destroyer into a TIE fighter.
There you go. That TIE fighter had no chance at all.
Nope. Pops like an egg.
Right. An eyeball, since that's what they call them, right?
Yeah.
They're eyeballs. All right. Wedge, more TIE fighters coming up from the planet. Okay, Red Squadron, earn your keep. So they're ready. Look at that. So, and then, so we have, the fight, the battle going on in the background here, everything going on here. And then, they shot one down. All batteries target those X-Wings. Fire. And then, so they maneuver out of there. Whoa, that was close. And then they say, Red Squadron, we've done all we can. Head for home. So now they are leaving. And there we go. And then so the person in the TIE fighter says, the rebels have broken off their attack. They've headed for hyperspace. And to prepare for landing, all personnel to arrive to rival stations. So there we go. And so here's the base right here that they're going to. Sunber has heard other officers describe Kalist as a wasteland, a desert landscape, nothing new to Sunber. So what I was showing on Twitter, and the picture, the image is still up, is that there's a view of this base, and it looks just like the Edu one where they from Rogue Squadron, where she goes and tries to rescue her dad.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And interesting enough, it also looks like a base that's one of the first levels on Jedi Knight 2 with Kal Katarn.
Okay.
And they ripped off Kal Katarn and Jan Ors for Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I'll be using that for my compare and contrast video that I need to seriously just finish up and just get it on up, because I think it's valuable to know, like, what, because people are like, oh, it's such a great show, blah blah blah. It's so great because it's a ripoff from Kal Katarn's arc.
Even the droid looks almost the same. Granted, the droid in that story though was a villain.
Yeah.
But that's easy to flip. You can basically just go, instead of actually, one of the villains was a blind dark Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're like, oh, let's have a blind good guy instead. That's kind of a Jedi.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Just flip it around a bit.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. Which is what they did with Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. It's like, everything, it's like they cut and pasted and then just changed stuff around. So it's not that obvious, even though it's obvious. It's still obvious. Yeah. So And here we go. So it's so they're getting everybody ready to go here. And it says, but at least it will bring new duties with which to occupy his time. So again, we're talking about, this is about Sunber, and he's a person of duty. He's like, he goes from one mission to another, to another, to another. And so he's a dedicated soldier, lieutenant for the Empire. All right. So prisoners will form ranks for debarkation. Anyone disrupting the offloading process will be shot. So that's their warning. So they're telling them, and that's a warning, and also the command for the stormtroopers. Kalist Base is on a state of high alert due to the rebel attack. Prisoners will be offloaded at double time speed. And so we have, here we have Sol here, that he's one of the priorities, so that he's, off by himself. And then we get down here to this little reflection one again. The light of the single sun assaults Sunber's eyes, and he catches his first whiff of the air of his new post. So I thought this was very interesting. It is drier and cleaner than the fitted air of Jabiim, but without the acrid bite he remembers from his homeworld. More sand here, less dust. So it's interesting how we get a compare, like someone comparing the worlds that they have been on. I like that.
Yeah. Actually, that's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, whoa, nice little attention to detail right there.
Also, it tells us that the guy has been around.
Right. Without really going into details, this guy has seen service. He has been on missions that just is not just in this certain area. So yeah. The prisoner soul is to be handed over to the much whispered about analysts Bureau of Imperial Intelligence. So he's getting sent off to the Imperial Intelligence for interrogation, and that's rough. That's rough. And it goes on. Whatever fate awaits the Jabiim prisoners, Sunber knows it will be a kinder one than Joran Souls, and that's true. He's gonna get it. let's see here, and that is what we seen Leia, when they sent the interrogation droid on her. So we know that they do a lot try to get information from their prisoners, and that is the last time he will think of Sol for several days. For now, a new assignment lies ahead, and duty calls. Duty is duty, the mistress to whom Sunber has willingly chained himself. Though demanding and unforgiving, she is always consistent, and in that certainty there is a certain kind of comfort. So he sees himself like that, his mission, his duties and stuff is his mistress, and that he always has to go, he's always beckoned by her. So that's a nice analogy. So, for duty never asks for more than her suitors can give. All she ever asks for is all. So there you go. So what do you think about all of that, Steve?
That pretty straightforward. Imperial yapping, showing off the Empire, basically.
Right. Very good. So like, if anybody's ever wondered, any viewpoints on the Imperial side, this is it right here. This is one of them. So it's pretty cool.
Also, even though this one is part of the old Empire comics, it's in the Rebellion omnibuses due to the timeline, but there's an Empire collection of omnibuses as well. I think there's 6 of them now, and it has all the the Dark Times comics.
Yes,
which are pretty damn dark, because the Dark Times were supposed to be dark. Imagine that.
Right.
and they take place after the Republic ones, the Clone Wars. It goes from the Clone Wars to Empire to Rebellion.
Yeah.
And then you get the New Republic.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. All right, so let's move on. All right, then the transport is safely down. What about the tanker? And he says, Nuna's twins. It was due here 2 days ago, sir. Routine supply run, but it should be accompanied by. And then they're finding out what's going on here. And escort freight, right? And then he says, have Captain Jodine and his men surround that tanker. Don't let it come any closer. So they realize in that, the rebels, basically, there was a fight scrimmage around it and blah, blah, blah. So they're realizing what had happened with this tanker as well. And then, what's going on. And then tanker Nuna's twins stand to. You will hold your current position on orders from General Noyles. And I think that's how you say that, Noyles. Captain Heron here. This shows this show of force is unnecessary, General. Unnecessary, General. I'll be the judge of that, Captain. But first, so they're assessing what was going on, why they're late, all of that, of course. And so we get to see a little bit of inside of what goes on. Still, you will explain your tardiness and reveal to me the whereabouts of your escort. And then he says, I would have thought the rebel fighters would be explanation enough for both, sir. We were attacked and our escort was destroyed. And then he goes on to say, my crew and I only barely made it here with our lives. If you have any decency. And then so that pauses there. And his, I guess you could say, commanding officer says, yes, one moment. And then he goes on to say, what do you think, gentlemen? And so they're assessing, everything, and analyzing everything. And they say, his story sounds plausible, sir. And Durkai Squadron reports that the tanker's long-range rectenas, as I think that's what it says, has been shot off. So there we go. And he's like, so the rebels came in there, did damage. They had a purpose and they left, right? And then he says, very well, Captain Heron, follow the coordinates that are being transmitted now, So they questioned him. They found out everything, added up and stuff. And now they're letting them through, basically.
Oh, yeah. And coordinates. Imagine that.
Yeah, right? That's a thing, coordinates. You hardly see that in Star Wars now, huh?
No. Back in the day, you had to plot a course, make sure it was damn accurate. Which is why they had hyperspace lanes, which was basically safe passage. Now they just, let's just push the hyperspace button and it'll take us exactly where we're going to go in a second.
Right. Like it can read your mind and where you're going to go. Just point your ship that direction and that's it.
Yeah.
My God. It's like Disney Star Wars is dumbed down. It is. Yeah. So everything made much. George and the authors, the EU team, anyone that worked on the IP, along with the continuity keepers, did wonderful world building to where it made sense in that world, because that world, there is sound in space. We know that people will use it as a complaint. Well, it's not our reality, it's Star Wars reality. So yes, in Star Wars there's sound in space, right? So that's what it is. But what my point is getting, and this follows up with Stig, is that every little detail was thought out, even with basically hyperspace lanes, hyperspace coordinates, and getting from point A and point B and how long it takes.
Yeah, because hyperspace travel is technically their main way of traveling in Star Wars, so it's integral to the plot.
Yeah.
Which means whoever's writing a new story in that universe needs to know how hyperspace travel works. It's actually very important.
Right.
You don't have to know how the engine of a pod racer works.
Yeah.
Because that's it's obviously an engine, like like a car almost. But the hyperspace, yes, you need to know that.
Right.
And
Correct.
all
And
you
the
have to do is
coordinates
read it.
too.
Yeah, all you have to do is read up on it. It's not that much to read, to get the basics, and then just stick to it.
Yeah. And then like the coordinates, because we know like these freighters and a lot of these ships are so big, it's very important to get the proper coordinates, because you have to land that without causing harm to the facility you're landing at and to the ship, right? So it makes sense. You just can't just go land all,
Yeah.
willy-nilly, I guess you can say. But let me go back to the comic here now. Let me get this out of there. And I like that quote here. This is something that I always refer back to about hyperspace right here, is Han's, because that's what started creating the continuity for hyperspace, is that one comment right there.
Yeah.
So
Han actually, he says it. If you get caught in a gravity well, that's the end of the trip.
Right.
Which means you can't be in a gravity well while entering hyperspace, because it's like an anchor.
Yeah, and it pulls you out to where it can even destroy your ship, depending on the circumstance.
Yeah.
So because they have interdictor, ships, but depending on like the purpose or the strength of the gravity well will determine on how bad your ship is messed up as it pulls it out. So
yeah, and I mean the whole point of and this is where Star Wars starts, the saga. Kenobi and Padme and Qui-Gon escape Naboo. They exit the planet, and then they have to get through the blockade. And the blockade isn't all around the planet in all directions. They're blocking the hyperspace route. So they need to break through that to get to a point where they can jump into hyperspace. If they were following the Disney rules, they could have made the hyperspace jump just 200 meters above the palace, and they wouldn't have had to worry about the blockade. They would have gone straight to Coruscant, and the ship wouldn't have gotten damaged through when they broke the blockade, which means they would have never had gone to Tatooine for repairs, and they would have never found Anakin, which means no Skywalker saga.
Right.
Anakin would never have been found.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, so the hyperspace travel and how it works is actually a major plot point. And you see it again in episode 5 when they have to get past the Imperials when they're escaping Hoth.
Right.
And then jump into hyperspace.
Right.
And they're obviously blocking the hyperspace lane because the Imperials are in one place. So according to Disney rules, they could have either jumped from the planet and escaped, or they could have just flown off out of the other side of the planet where there's no Imperials and then jumped.
Right.
Yeah, so it obviously has to do with hyperspace lanes. And when you see stuff like The Mandalorian breaking that rule, they're just making hyperspace jumps within the planet, that creates a massive plot hole.
Yep, exactly. For everything you had just stated.
Yeah. and this, I know a lot of sheep will go, yeah, but that's EU elitism. No, it isn't. It has to do with the movies and only the movies.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the EU.
Yeah.
It's what was shown in the movies, and The Mandalorian, Clone Wars, what have you, follows the movies. It's Disney canon,
Yeah. Right. Good point here. And hey, GB Luke, good morning, Laura and Stig. I had a great talking EU conversation with him in interview. This gentleman right here is knowledgeable, has great attention to detail, all of that, and is very much passionate for Star Wars, especially for George Lucas era. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the Talking EU, my interview with him, go ahead and find it. I can share a link later here in the descriptions here and listen, as well as I plan to have a detailed one with Stig. And I have interviewed Lady Toriel and Miss Martin Muses and Open Airlock, and it's not just people from my immediate circle. I'm also looking at other people that I know that is very knowledgeable that I hardly talk with, because it's always good to see a broad spectrum of, people's how they got involved with Star Wars and just seeing the EU through their lens, through their eyes, and how it impacted them. So, and that's the purpose of my talking EU. So,
Yeah.
And
Because this is an EU channel.
Mhm.
That's why we talk about the EU on this channel. But usually when we have a go at the movies, at least what I do, with Disney canon and all, it's how it breaks the lore with the 6 movies George made.
Right.
Not the EU, because that's not relevant to the Mandalorian in that story timeline that Disney's using. Alora, though, might compare it to the EU because she's doing an EU channel. Imagine that.
Yeah, and I will still refer back to the movies because in reality, George's movies is the foundation of Star Wars. Everything expands off of it. So the first initial world building happened in the OT, and then the PT went ahead and used the EU to world build, but George still added stuff to it.
Yes, exactly.
And then I'll expand on, okay, so they're in this time frame of what Disney did, the time frame of what the EU did. I will compare and contrast those time frames. However, I will still do what Stig does and refer back to the movies for continuity errors as well.
Because since the EU has nothing to do with, the Mandalorian.
Unless they bring something in like Thrawn, then I will compare and contrast and, and tear the shit out of that too.
Yeah, but so I'm not gonna bash the Mandalorian for a continuity issue if it contradicts something in the EU, because that's not relevant to the Mandalorian. However, if they rip off the EU, which they do, they even copied a scene from Knights of the Old Republic with using Bantha as bait and for the Krayt Dragon, then then I'll compare it. Yeah, because that's where they got it. But
yeah. And then Robotic Pope says they try to do the same with Disney High Republic, but they completely messed up the hyperspace even more, if that's even possible. I'm not surprised these days, but let's get out of this little wormhole we're going down to come back into George Lucas' era of Star Wars here and enjoy this comic here. So we're almost done. We are almost done with this, and this is leading up to the next 4 in the series here. So basically, they're getting coordinates to fly in and land. And, they got to do it, we have to stay steady as they land and what have you. And so they take, they go ahead and land and everything. And so they're at their base. And here we go. So they're ready to debark, I guess you can say. Confined to ship. This is unheard of, General. So they're being told to stay confined to ship. They want to make sure everything is okay since the Rebel Alliance went in and attacked and stuff. So they're making sure everything is well, that they didn't aboard the ship and take prisoners and what have you. You know what I'm saying? So I believe, and this is standard procedure anyways, I would say this is standard procedure to make sure everything's okay. I believe the destruction of one of the Emperor's frigates and a rebel attack upon a heavily defended Imperial base warrants it, Captain. So like I said, it's warranted. If you wish to register a formal complaint along with your report of the Empire's loss, be my guest. So they're having a little snip right there, but it's fine. My apologies, sir. Please understand that my crew and I are exhausted. We just spent 48 hours trying to shake those rebels. If it wasn't for Lieutenant Jenlin's quick thinking. So we had, Lieutenant Jenlin's here, and you guys will find out who that is here pretty soon. No apologies are necessary, Captain. This rebellion tires us all, so he has some understanding, which is cool. I assure you, and it also shows you that not everybody in the Empire are assholes either,
No. I mean, look at Admiral Pelion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's not an asshole. He's completely reasonable.
Right. He has an amazing arc. So if you haven't gotten to his arc, in the EU, once you do, you're going to, he's one of those, it's like, you end up loving, and stuff. He has a lot of common sense, and his thing is, he wants the survival of the Empire, but not at all costs either. So that's reasonable.
He actually cares about his men.
Right. And then so this guy says, I assure you, once we're certain that the rebels haven't left the system, I will extend every courtesy the base has to offer. And then he's like, whew, for a moment there, I thought everything was going to go all wrong. And then down here below, but it looks like we're in Skywalker. I mean, Lieutenant Janek. There you go. And this is the end of the story, or the end of this one here before we get into the next ones. So look we have them infiltrating. Whoops. And I hate when I do that. There we go. Go back.
Yeah. Very good setup comic, I thought. And it sets up a very good Imperial character too.
Right. And then you notice his name, Janek, Luke's name.
Yep.
So if you guys haven't caught on to that, it's basically from the Janek waste on Tatooine. So there we go. And that didn't Obi-Wan have his home right there at the edge of it?
Yeah.
So there you go. It's a little bit of like a nod back to his home planet. So there you go. So this right here, this is comic number 1 out of the 5 of them in the series. And so next Thursday we'll do 2 and 3, and then the following Thursday we'll do 3 or 4 and 5. So we're getting to the story. This is setting up. So hopefully you guys, who in the chat has read this one before, so let me know. If you haven't, and this is brand new to you, I suggest you come back and join us for the next, couple of talking, or not talking EU coffee chats. So let's see here. Whoops, this jumped here. Max, relax. Old EU books are miles ahead of the crap Disney tries to peddle. Let's see here. And then also, go ahead.
Well, the reason why that is that the EU, or rather Lucasfilm at the time, hired experienced writers.
Yeah.
So with experience, you'll get good writing, and I mean, Troy Denning, he had done a lot of books, and he was experienced in writing D&D novels, which is kind of a little bit of the same. It's called a shared world, which is what the EU was. It was a bunch of writers writing in the same world that they didn't own, right? So you had to take a lot of care, not screwing everything up for everyone else, including the owner of the IP. But and you had R.A. Salvatore wrote some, and some really good ones were hired to write the prequel novels, which they also hired Salvatore for one of them.
Right.
Now, though, I mean, how many of the people who write for Disney Star Wars now had you heard of before? I think one of them just worked at what was it, GameStop or something? I don't know. They just dragged him in from there. He's writing fan fiction on the forum or something.
Yeah. And like even these comics here, like they have some excellent stories and stuff. Sometimes the art can be questionable and stuff, but so what do you think?
Also, some of the comics are bad. Not everything in the EU is fantastic. It certainly isn't, but at least they tried their best for continuity. And in the most cases that they actually succeeded, right?
Yeah.
But
so
it's not perfect.
Matt Wilkins says, have I read it, with his smile face? And you guys go ahead and check out his channel. He has a great channel which covers Star Wars EU extensively, but he also does his own thing with like board games. He does reviews on that and stuff as well. So very fun channel. He has various different type of live stream he does, and like nightcap and stuff. And once in a great while, if I have time and he sends me the link, I'll jump on and BS with him and have a good time. And same with Stig. So
Yeah, I've been on that channel sometimes.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then Holocron Library Fox, I'll certainly be back if my schedule allows. Awesome. I would love to have you guys all back for the next couple of weeks because, again, this is building up the story. Now we know Luke is undercover here. So what's going to happen? We don't know. We'll find out once we start moving through the series here. Christian Jacobs, it was beautiful, the EU. It is still beautiful. We're not, sadly, we probably won't get anything else, but it's still beautiful. It still is.
Yeah.
So
it's not gone, and I can guarantee you that it's never gonna return to canon. That's not gonna happen because Disney, and this is a sad truth though, people want the sequel trilogy and all the stupid shit to get decanonized, and I agree, but Disney is a huge company. They won't admit mistake, right?
No,
because they never do that. They won't apologize. They won't admit mistake.
They feel they're above all of that. So yeah,
and they have 10 years or so of content now that they've created. 10 years of Star Wars comics, video games, novels, and movies, right? They're not going to get rid of 10 years of material.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And you know what? The thing is like we already, like as EU fans, and Stig may have a different opinion than me, but we EU fans already know how it feels like to have our stuff saying it's no longer canon. We're not going to use it. We're not going to create any more stories. And then having anti-EU people bash it for, whatever shape, reason, or whatever. I really don't want that to happen to those who do truly enjoy Disney Star Wars. I know, like I said, there's other people that may not agree with me, but we know how it feels. So why have them do that? I would rather see two timelines to where we have Legends versus that Disney, but then do we trust the direction they will even take Legends after if it's ever continued? And that's where I fear. So.
Yeah, with the way they've been going with Disney Star Wars, with the politics and all, they would absolutely put the same crap into the EU if they, for some reason, decided to continue it.
Yeah.
So be very careful what you wish for because you might get it.
Right, because we're seeing other IPs like like even Lord of the Rings and stuff like that is going. They're starting to, I guess you can say, corrupt the material.
Yeah, it's happening with everything. So it's not just a Disney problem, and it's not just a Kathleen Kennedy problem either. She's a symptom. The problem is the corporations, right?
Yeah.
And pop culture will swing towards whichever political angle that's the most popular,
right.
Because back when 9/11 happened, there were war movies coming all over the place, and there were terrorists were the villains, and everyone was fine with that, right? Except the lefties, who was like, no, this is evil, and they were not listened to.
Yeah.
But nowadays, though, and I did a tweet about this, and that was just my opinion on it. It's corporations now want to make as much money as possible as quickly as they can,
right?
Which means they will cater to the casual crowd. And I think it was Bob Iger said that too. They would focus on the casual fans,
right?
He said that in a statement. I think it was last year. And what happens, though, is that if you look at a franchise, be it Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, what have you, it doesn't matter. A franchise is like call it a blanket, right? Or a canvas. That's where all the content is. And then in order to cater to too many people or to a bigger crowd, you stretch it to cover them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have to include this because that way we'll get these people interested. And if we include this, then these people will be interested. So you're basically stretching the canvas to cover more than you can.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to tear. And that's where you get the holes. That's where you get the continuity issues. You get the plot holes, character destruction. I mean, they turned Han Solo into a jerk almost, right?
Yeah.
And so you basically start to tear the franchise apart.
Yeah.
By trying to cover too much area too fast.
Yeah.
And corporations are doing that, and Kathleen Kennedy is part of that. You see it the way she talks. Yeah, we're going to be inclusive. Feminism, blah blah blah, and we're going to make Star Wars greater. You're not making it greater. You're just stretching it till it tears.
Right. They have a lot of holes in it already. So
if,
I like your analogy on that, Stig. I really do.
Yeah. If Kathleen Kennedy gets fired tomorrow, tarred and feathered and tossed out, right? They're not going to get rid of the stuff she made. And she's going to get replaced by someone possibly just as bad. They're not going to hire some conservative fellow to run Star Wars. That's not going to happen, is it?
Not in Hollywood. No way. Not right now. No. Not in the state it's in. Yeah.
So it's
look at Chappelle. He can't get his documentary in the studio or anything, or can't even get into a studio to do anything in Hollywood because of his humor.
Yeah. And all this stuff isn't, like I said, it's not just happening with Star Wars. It's happening with Star Trek, Marvel, DC. It's everywhere, even in James Bond now. And like you said, Tolkien's about to take a hit.
Right. We're watching that all go down right now. And Stig, if you ever want to have a time to do a live stream about it, you can even use my channel to discuss it. And you can invite other people that are really, really knowledgeable in that to discuss it. I don't mind hosting something like that.
Oh, the Tolkien stuff?
Because I know you've been wanting to talk about it in a sense, because it does. The awareness needs to come out, right? Awareness needs. I'm a very casual fan with Tolkien's work. And I am slowly getting through the novels right now. And, but the thing is like, he did all the world building himself, right? He did everything himself, and he created a wonderful fantasy IP and stuff. And to see it go in the way of wokeism, I guess you can say, is disheartening, and it's frustrating too.
Yeah. Writing is art.
Right.
It's an art form. If you change art later on, you've destroyed the art that was there to begin with. You know?
Yeah.
And which is something everyone should everyone needs to fight that stuff, because as long as it keeps going on, even if you're not a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, or Marvel, eventually it's going to hit the stuff you are a fan of.
Right. It will. And it's already apparent and stuff. And, and it's, I don't know. It's like, it's the revisionist of history, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And they're actually doing it with history too.
Right.
And they're actually also editing movies in a sense, because they're removing scenes that they deem to be offensive for other people.
Right.
Think of the arrogance of that. You get to decide what other people will be offended by. So basically, you're up there, the others are down there. Look, I'm protecting you, or being your mom, And I saw a streaming service, I think it might have been Netflix, had removed a couple of jokes from some Seinfeld episodes.
We know we are in shit.
Yep.
Because that's a show about nothing. It's just like stupid comedy little adventure, and it's supposed to be there just so you to laugh at ordinary life, that ordinary crazy shit that happens, right?
Yeah, it's wokeism, and the way it affects franchises
Uh-huh.
is almost how depression works,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know you have it until you've had it for a while,
Yeah.
right? It sneaks up, and with franchises, right? People will, give it a chance for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like The Force Awakens that much, but
Mm-hmm.
I had accepted that, okay, Disney's gonna go their own way, and they
Yeah.
promised it would be better and the continuity would be fantastic. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll believe that, because there's no reason not to, because they had done so well with Marvel at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when The Force Awakens happened, I was like, yeah, that was a shit remake, and they killed Han Solo, but it hadn't destroyed everything,
Yeah.
and you had that shot of Luke at the end, so I was still going to give them a chance.
Right. A lot
And
of
then
people.
yeah, The Last Jedi happened, and this isn't fixable.
Right.
This is not going to get fixed. And now they're too deep in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to go back and get rid of all of it, because then they'll have another bunch of people getting pissed at them,
Right.
who actually like that crap.
Yeah. And there are people that do. There are people that are keeping it alive, I guess you can say, whatever. But anyways, let's go ahead and start wrapping this up here in a Stig. Like I said, I always, if you want to have an opportunity to talk about what's going on, with Tolkien's legacy and stuff like that, I do offer my channel up for you to use it, and you could form a panel and stuff like that. I think it's very important to get that out in front of an audience to discuss, because it's history revisionist, and it's desecrating someone's work. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's true, because you and I will talk about it from a Star Wars point of view,
right?
Because this is a Star Wars channel, but it's just one part of the problem. It's a problem with every franchise being attacked now.
Yeah, exactly. And then Fuck Norris says, yes, please. He agrees, do it and host that on there. And like I said, I'm willing, just because this is a George Lucas era Star Wars, the theme of the mission is still the same. And it's our franchise is being destroyed and re-altered because of people's certain viewpoints of this time and stuff. And so I think it's very important, because then it shows that it's not only affecting this IP we love here, it's also bleeding out everywhere else. So
yeah, and if I may be a little bit political,
go ahead.
With communism is far, far left. Every time there's been like a communist takeover of a country, it starts with a demonizing of the flag, its heroes, and its icons. And then the tearing down of statues happens, right? And then book burnings, and then demonizing of anyone who disagrees. The United States is a bit unique because it's a very young country. You don't have fairy tales and myths and legends and stuff. The natives do, though. But the main country, its myths and legends is basically the superheroes.
Yeah.
And that would be its icons, wouldn't it? And they're being altered, and Superman can't be like this anymore because that's fascist, all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that's what's happening, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're tearing down statues too, left and right.
Yep.
And the flag is offensive.
I don't know. It's a crazy world we're in. So we can get into a whole nother topic with this and stay on here for a whole nother hour, but I don't want to keep everybody in chat. And that's a whole different, stretch from what we just came from, but I do get where it's going and stuff. And yeah, we eventually will be able to discuss more into detail on those things as well. So Stig, let us know where we can find you at, and if you're going on any channels this coming week.
Probably on Mara's channel, Jade Shadow, on Friday for the cringe factor, where we talk about 3 pop culture topics that has from the last week that has been particularly cringe.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun. It's fun to hang out with Mara. Known her for 3 years, and we get along swimmingly, so that's good.
Yeah, you should see them in our D&D game.
Yeah, and on Saturday, I think Miss Martin Muses is gonna do another of the Tolkien book talks.
There you go.
So that has it's myself and Lady Greymaster and Rennie.
Yeah.
And Toriel. And of course Miss Martin. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So go ahead and subscribe to Miss Martin Muse's channel, and go ahead, and since we were talking a little bit about Tolkien anyways, go and you participate in that show and support and all that as well. So anything else going on, Stig?
No, okay. I don't think so.
All right. And thank you again for being my co-host here on Coffee Chat and sitting through this after surgery and stuff. I appreciate so much. For myself, this Saturday, I will be on Fallen Night on Open Airlock's channel. That's Tim's channel. So find us there, where we do get into a lot of stuff that goes into political stuff as well. And we give our humorous opinions about that, and we enjoy it so much. And then on the 5th, I will be back on Open Airlock's channel, and we are going to discuss the anti-EUism that's been going on lately. And so that should be a great conversation. And so come, join us then. And then Coffee Chat every Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. I know Queen's Council is tonight. I do have to teach, so I'm not going to be there. So please go over there and support. I will put the information on who's going to host it this time. So Queen's Council is tonight. And Babe de Menace, I'll be on next week with them on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. That information will come out to you guys as well. And then I do lore videos. Right now it's EU shorts and lore shorts, basically little, concise clips about the EU history and all that. So I like to share that on my channel. It's easy and to the point to get out to you guys without doing an extensive lore video right now. And I think that's it for myself. If there's anything else going on, I know I was supposed to do a 2000K celebration. Sorry about that. Maybe it's not too late. I hope not. I do have almost all of my attire for Jan Ors, or maybe I'll just even wear it for Halloween on, since we're coming up close for that. So thank you guys in the chat for participating. And if someone's hopping in right now, I'm so sorry you guys are hopping in late. Again, meet us here next Thursday and the following Thursday to continue the story we're on as well. And I shall talk to you later. Cheers to you all, and have a good day.
Take care and be well.